time's it, Ciara?
It's time for the State of Podcasts.
One day we'll have a good intro.
I don't have the voice for it. We can't do it.
What are we talking about this week, Ciara?
Mission Impossible?
That was one of the most pitiful
I can't
renditions of the theme tune I've heard. Even though there's about 6 or so anyway.
Good show.
But yeah, we've been teasing this for a while. I never thought I'd ever watch this. All 6 of them, personally.
Yeah.
I find it very enjoyable.
Me too. I don't know, is my standards really low after watching a heap of superhero films?
Marvel films, mainly.
Well, yeah. Because it was just like, even though, I don't know, like, if I had watched the films before, you know, we've just, like, oversaturation of Marvel films, I mightn't have enjoyed it as much, but I think because, like, do you know what I mean?
It's kind of like a fresh,
like, I think,
kind of...
Yeah.
Yeah,
it just
I know
feels,
what you mean,
it's still action, it's still, not very much happening in
but
it.
Is it at the point where it's kind of like, wow, this is amazing, even though this should be the bare minimum?
Yeah.
You know, is that what you're kind of trying to say?
Yeah,
almost,
pretty
like?
much, yeah. It is like, not perfect. Most definitely not.
Well, the main reason I wanted to watch these was, even though I saw the trailer for the new one, I wasn't that excited for it.
Yeah.
Based upon my opinions of the last one, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
But no, weirdly enough, I watched for some reason I just watched a string of Brian De Palma films. Like I watched Carlitos Way, which is great. I watched Scarface, and for some reason I was just like, oh, I really want. I didn't know he did Mission Impossible 1. I didn't know he did the first Mission Impossible, and that kind of just attracted me to kind of watch the Mission Impossible films then. And then you were like, oh yeah, I'll do that as well.
Oh yeah, I always wanted to watch them, but because they always were kind of on the telly, and you just sit in. But I never actually. I was like, no, I won't watch them until I watch them for real. And then I bought them all DVD and can't find half of them. So
Well, I remember, like, I think the first one I watched in its entirety, because you would just see like a clip of one. Yeah. Here and there, and I think I'd seen a clip from every single one, just from, it'd just be on TV, but only through rewatching did I notice that. Yeah. Weirdly enough, the second one I watched a lot of.
Oh God!
But
that's why you didn't return.
But no, I think it was the fourth one, Ghost Protocol, I watched in cinema.
Yeah.
And I think I watched it like 3 times in cinema because there was nothing out that summer or whatever. Like, but like I think I went with like 11 or whatever whenever it came out, but I think it was just like everyone wanted to go see it because it's the new Mission Impossible, you have to go see it. Yeah. And this was, before the MCU era. Yes, there had been like 3 MCU films prior to that, but it's not like in the sort of like franchisey kind of type stuff that we have now. Mission Impossible was sort of seen as the big action franchise. Yeah. At the time, like, and then of course years later I watched the recent one, Mission Impossible Fallout, because Adam told me to watch it. He said it was, it's the greatest film this year. I watched it. I didn't think it was.
But we need to think about what films came out that year.
Oh yes, well we'll get into that, but no, like I think the main thing that really attracted me was the fact that every film was meant to feel like a different mission, and every film had a different director, so every film had a different sort of flavour with it. Yeah. And I liked that was kind of like, cause Tom Cruise kind of like helmed the franchise. He was kind of like Bruce Willis with the Die Hard franchise. Yeah. Not to the same extent anyways, but he definitely had big hands on with who's directing, who's really directing at the end of the day, when Tom Cruise is about. Yeah. But I like that every kind of film has a director's own kind of style.
Yeah, I think that's what it's losing its appeal for me now.
Yeah.
After watching Fallout
and Rogue Nation.
It's like, we could have done with a mix-up, and now he's going to finish the franchise.
With the last 2 parts of Dead Reckoning.
Which I think is a poor move, but we'll talk about that later. Yeah.
Just teasing the audience. Just
Yeah.
teasing the audience. Whoever's
Spoiler
listening.
alert as well.
Always a spoiler alert, you know, because why the fuck would you be listening to this if you haven't seen them? Or if you're just kind of that kind of person, you know, I just want to listen to this shit.
Yeah.
So the first one,
Yeah.
you don't really remember a lot from it
No.
because you fell asleep.
Yeah, I fell asleep. Yeah,
No,
'cause
that's
when I
not saying it's a bad film.
No, I don't remember it being bad for the most part. I definitely is a very strong opening because I didn't know what to expect. I actually had no idea what happens in any of these movies watching it. I don't know how I've gone 23 years without actually knowing anything about Mission Impossible. But yeah, I love the opening. I think the opening's good because like all of his team is just dying and you're just like, what?
What's
like,
going on? Like, yeah.
And I think it's a really good introduction to his character because like he doesn't trust anybody for the next like all the series of films.
Yeah.
So you can understand why because like just shows you that immediately.
But also at the same time, like the people that he does trust, he'll go out of his way to save regardless. Yeah. Like, and like it is the only vulnerable aspect of him. Yeah. You know.
So I think they actually do a good job at starting, like introducing his character. I guess. I don't know. I think I was just tired. Because I don't even remember the iconic scene.
Where he's fallen down to try and get the floppy disk from the computer.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to rewatch it because I remember like looking at the video of it and I was like, I don't remember watching this. Like, I don't know. I must have just been like asleep.
Well, I think compared to the other films, this film is very much a legacy film. Okay. Of the TV show.
Have you seen the TV show?
I have seen parts of the TV show. Not my kind of thing. Yeah. But it is kind of very much like America's version of The Man from U.N.C.L.E. and that kind of a stuff. Like, okay. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Where it's just kind of like a TV show. With every episode was like different mission, blah blah blah. That kind of like tune in next week. That kind of you know what I mean? Like yeah. I think the film does a very good job of being a legacy for that TV show, whilst also starting off to be its own kind of thing. Yeah. I think most people nowadays don't even know that it was originally a TV show. Yeah. I don't know. Like it is known. It's such a big franchise now that it is just known for being the Mission Impossible films. Like Yeah. Because remember we saw that box set of the TV show in HMV.
I know people that have seen Mission Impossible films that aren't really into films. So it's just kind of something everybody watches. Really. Oh yeah. I don't know, is it like one of those things that be on at Christmas and you're sitting and you're like, well, there's nothing else to do. I'll just watch Mission Impossible. It's kind of easy watch. Yeah.
I think the first half of the film's strong. Yeah. Opening's good. I like the first act. I like the second act. And then it falls apart. Okay. So the third act really falls apart where they do the whole weird triple double cross twist, blah blah blah. You know.
Do they do that in the first
they do.
film?
They do a big double triple cross. With John Voight. Yeah. Where it is painfully obvious.
So
and then everyone's like double crossing people, and you're like, who's who? And because it's quite a strong film, and like I always remember that iconic scene, where he is going down to try and get the floppy disk or whatever. Yeah. In the room. I always thought that was like the end of the film. So like when that appeared, I was like, we're almost done with the film here. Or...
When does that happen?
Oh well, that happens like halfway through the film.
Oh, okay.
So that's why I was very confused.
Yeah.
I was like, is the film almost over, or like what the fuck's going on? And then it's like, oh right. And then you realise why that's the iconic shot from the film, because the third act is just a CG. Train helicopter mess in the middle of a field in England, and you're like, is Emmerdale about to start? Or I know that's a terrible reference for people who don't know what the fuck Emmerdale is.
I don't know how I have no recollection. I do remember you saying, because when John Voight dies at the start, you're like, oh, he's definitely not dead.
You wouldn't get John Voight. Yeah.
And he was obviously going to be the villain, but was he the villain in the end?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's actually a lot of controversy about that, apparently. at the time.
Oh yeah.
Because he was like a big mentory hero character in the TV show, so people were just very pissed off with it. Whereas majority of audiences who just saw the films now have just been like, nah, I'm not bothered. Like, it doesn't really bother me.
So maybe it was like actually a big twist at the time.
Oh yeah, that you killed him. Oh yeah.
And then like he came back and he was
I think this works great for both, but in different ways. Like, it works great for people who were fans of the TV show, and it works great for a new audience, because even though you've seen this kind of shit, it's new for you. And even if you haven't, it's all new, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I do think the third act falls apart. But, yeah, no, because they do tease you at the start, because they have like a nice kind of group.
Yeah.
Like, they have Emilio Estevez and stuff out there, and you're like, maybe this is so good. And they're all dying. You're like, what the fuck's going on? Like,
yeah. Yeah, it's weird.
It's just a pretty solid film.
It's pretty. I mean, it's definitely a good enough start in comparison to the second.
Like, I think it's the one I have the least to talk about. Not that I think there's anything wrong with it, but there's very few things wrong with it.
Yeah.
Like, I genuinely think it's mainly the third act and the shitty double cross twist.
Yeah.
So a lot of things are obvious in there, but I do think it's a solid watch.
Impossible thing, though. They want to keep doing twists, and it's like.
There's only so much you can do, and it'd be good.
Like, I can stop it like a double twist, but like after two, you're like,
no. Oh yeah, like a triple, quadruple twist is just like
too much.
Nah.
Which we will come back to.
Oh God, yes.
But I can't remember. I think is it Rogue Nation?
No.
Is it Fallout?
Fallout.
God.
Yes.
They're just the same film in my head, really.
Well.
Yeah, I think we should move on to two, because you have a lot to tell me.
Well, I have a lot to talk, because Kira's done a research as usual. She hasn't written it down. It's on her phone this time. She's evolved. But I told her specifically, because after we watched the first two, I did a lot of research into the second one, and oh my God, it is remarkable. It had one of the worst productions of a film I've ever heard of.
Okay.
So the problem initially was, they had to do a second one, like, because the first one made so much fucking money, like, and Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
So apparently the plan was they were gonna start making it in 1997. Okay, so that's 3 years after the first one, because they had to find the director and stuff. I think Oliver Stone was attached to direct at one stage, and that was in 1997.
Alright, interesting.
But the problem with the production initially was, they were going to try and get De Palma back. De Palma was like, nah, I'm doing one of these. I'm kind of done with this,
Yeah.
De Palma, not a big sequel kind of guy.
Yeah. I respect that.
Yeah. He was one of the big Hollywood 5 or whatever.
Mm.
The most forgotten one of them still. Nice flavours. Yeah, so then they asked Oliver Stone. Oliver Stone was like, yeah, I was thinking about it. And then, it all it mainly fell apart when Tom Cruise was doing Eyes Wide Shut.
Oh, yeah.
Now, we're going to dip in the Eyes Wide Shut here a wee bit, because
Tom Cruise?
Eyes Wide Shut's production began when, well, not filming or anything, but the actual kind of like Kubrick going through the processes was after Top Gun. It was 1986 they started working on, Kubrick started working on the film. He had a meeting with Tom Cruise about the film in 1986. The film did not come out until 1999. Jesus. Right? This is how long it took him to make fucking films, right?
Uh-huh.
But the idea was it was going to be a quick shoot, Tom said, in 1997, and then they'd start working Mission Impossible 2. That's not how Kubrick works. Infamously, it had one of the longest shooting productions ever for a film.
Really? Okay.
Spanning over the course of 2 years, almost. And the problem was everything basically had to get delayed after that.
Yeah.
So they basically found a new director, John Woo.
Yeah.
Had recently done a lot of Chinese films, right? A lot of Chinese action films. Caught the eye of Hollywood. Got to do Face Off.
Yeah.
And they were like, Face Off, big success, right? And everyone was like, oh yeah, we need him to do Mission Impossible 2. You know, his style, we want his style. Now, John Woo initially turned it down because he's like, oh, I don't know if I can match Brian De Palma's style. But Tom Cruise was like, no, we wanted to, you know, think of it like, that's where he initially came up with the whole different flavors, different kind of a mission, you know, different kind of director, right, to have their style.
I love that.
Oh yeah, I think it's great. I think they should stick with it. Well, should have stuck with it. So that was fine. John Woo shot the film. The film was 3.5 hours long. Paramount were like, no. They shot the film. I've been saving this to tell you the film. They shot a 3.5 hour film. Okay, this is what I'm saying, right? And Paramount were like, it has to be under 2 hours.
Yeah.
Okay, now this is a very big Justice League level situation here. Very similar time length, very similar studio demands, right? Apparently, John Woo was locked out of the editor's studio by Tom Cruise.
Oh God.
So he was in charge of the edit of the film.
Okay.
The film was just under 2 hours. This is why it's a complete mess. You can really tell from the film. There's so many plot holes. It's such a confusing film to watch. In our own opinion, it is the worst Mission Impossible film. I don't think the tone is wrong. Yeah. I think, having known this explains why it's a bad film.
Yeah.
Because it was a 3.5 hour long film that got cut down under 2 hours.
I appreciate the cheesy action stuff. Because I think that's part of the charm, as you said, like a different director and their style for every mission, which is great. Even if it is really cheesy.
Yeah.
And John Woo, it's like so snappy, so many like really sharp cuts, so many close-ups, like pattern, like
just very fast-paced action.
Stuff.
Yeah.
But like very enjoyable to watch. I like obviously I don't want a 3.5 hour long Mission Impossible movie, but I would have rathered like an actual film than what we ended up getting because it was so confusing.
Well, the main problem was the Paramount had was that it was an R-rated cut. So it was. The film was an R-rated version, and they wanted PG-13 because you're going to sell more tickets. Now, keep in mind, this is late 90s, literally about to touch the year 2000 when the film comes out.
Yeah.
R-rated films didn't make as much money as they, you know, have now. Like, this is before Passion of the Christ. Like... You know, yeah, it was just, this is why they're like, oh no, sure, it's not going to make any fucking money, like, yeah, so this is why they're like, yeah, cut down the film. Apparently there was, like, a VHS copy, or a bootleg DVD that leaked, which wasn't the full 3.5 hour length, but I think it was around 160 or so minutes, so it was about... 2 hours 40 minutes, so there was an extra 40 minutes of footage in there which had deleted scenes and stuff, which got leaked, but there's been no other version that has been leaked or shown in any way. I think
release
apparently
the Woo cut then.
That's what a lot of people on Reddit were saying, like, release the Woo cut. But you know, he sort of made his peace with it. He's like, yeah, I'm kind of done. I don't think he's kind of bothered. I think this kind of explains why it took 6 years to make this film.
Yeah.
Because while Tom Cruise was busy in the late 90s, he was more busy in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
And that explains, you know, you can understand why he was a lot more busy in between 2 and 3.
It's so frustrating about a director not getting their vision met. Because you didn't talk about this with Adam, about Thor. No. About what Taika said.
Taika, yeah.
Which I just can't understand, because you're not a director if you don't
believe in your own version of the cut. Well, I think this...
I don't understand, because I think that's the problem with the new Mission Impossible movies, is like Christopher McQuarrie's kind of only there. It is Tom Cruise that's in charge, but he's a producer. He's
a yes man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He's just like, yeah, whatever Tom wants. But like, I'm not criticizing Tom Cruise, but he's not a director, and he doesn't have a certain like directorial style or anything. So you can tell that it's just quite bland as it goes on. Whereas like when you get that style from De Palma and John Woo and who else we got? Oh yeah, we got Brad Bird. We do J.J. Abrams, but, you know.
Yes.
The only reason that has flavour, though, is because it's his first film and, well, his first... Isn't it his first big film?
It's first feature film, yeah.
Yeah. And, because it was at that time where everything... It didn't look grey.
Yes.
It was really saturated and
Really
stuff.
saturated.
Yeah.
But I think the problem with Mission Impossible 2 is... I think it all stems from that.
Yeah,
per
definitely.
edit
that
of
makes
the
so much
film.
sense.
Yeah, I know. Like, I was waiting to save it to tell you. Like,
I can't believe it was meant to be 3.5 hours long. Because, like, the whole, the biochemical...
it has a strong opening. Where he's on
When
the
he's
plane.
on the
That's a very...
yeah.
No, on the plane.
Wait, what happened?
Do you remember when the scientist injects himself and then he's on the plane and then he's talking to Tom Cruise?
Oh, yeah,
and
it's
it's
not actually
obviously
Tom
not
Cruise.
Tom
Yeah.
Cruise. And it
I
is a
forgot
strong
that's how it
opening.
opens. Yeah, no, that's good. I do like that.
Because I think the trend with a lot of these films that they do, like all these films nearly, they all have very strong openings in a way.
Yeah.
I think the same with 2 is also Tom Cruise, or Doug Reese Scott, who's good of him. He, when he's wearing Tom Cruise's face, your man next to him keeps calling him Dimitri, which is one of Ethan Hunt's aliases.
Oh, yeah.
Which is used later on in Mission Impossible 4.
Yeah.
You know, which is a nice kind of like throwback.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so hard to talk about the second film because you want to rip it to pieces, but knowing why it's bad.
Yeah. It takes away from it a little bit.
Because it's like, that just explains it all, so you can't really rip it to pieces. Because it's like, well, it's just because it's a bad edit. That's why it's like that.
Yeah.
It is just a bad edit, you know what I mean?
Because it really doesn't make... Although, well, I am wondering, you know, what do you call her? Is she like Sandy Newton?
Sandy Newton, yes.
Yeah. She's... Well, I always think she's quite weak in roles anyway. Just because she's very soft or something. But, not the weak, but like...
soft.
She is soft.
Yeah.
She's not weak. She's just a wee bit soft.
Yeah.
Which I do like, but I just think her softness doesn't work because she comes out of nowhere and the relationship comes out of nowhere. I feel like if we have more time to get to understand where it's come from, because I actually quite like her, and I know they tried to get her back for the third one, wasn't it? But she was pregnant and she was pregnant during the film or something. Or...
Yeah, no, she could come back because she wanted to spend more time with her family.
Yeah, which is very fair. But no, I just felt like the love interest thing was weird in that film. Because I do think they do a better job.
Well, they try and do it in every film.
Yeah. Well, and I did wonder because I didn't really feel that way about the fourth film.
I didn't feel that way about the first film. Who
was her love interest in the first film? His wife.
Remember in the first film,
Voight's
John Voight's wife.
Yeah,
remember they were doing that, and I was like,
that.
I'm not really vibing this now.
See, I just like didn't feel like that was working, so I was like, oh, they mustn't be doing a love interest thing. It doesn't really work in the second one, just because you're just like, who is she? It's
a very sexy film.
It's so, yeah.
It is, isn't it? Like, out of nowhere, you're just like, geez, so much sexy, isn't it? Like,
yeah, it's a really weird film. Yeah, the biochemical thing, 20 hours. So weird. It's such a weird plot. Like, yes. I know that's the thing with all these films is they have, like...
mental plots.
Yeah, but they have this one thing. What is it called? When they have, like, a one plot device.
Oh, the MacGuffin.
The MacGuffin, yeah. I just think the MacGuffin in this is so strange. And, like, it needs so much exposition for it to make sense.
Yeah.
And you just don't get any of that, clearly, because the film's cut down so much. That's what we know
3.5 hours. It is, like, it's not even the fact that it was going to be a 2.5 hour long film. It was a 3.5 hour long film. Remarkable.
I wrote down the quote from the film.
Which one?
That I loved. The Anthony Hopkins thing.
What was he say?
Like, well, this is not mission difficult.
This is mission impossible.
I remember they said it. I was like, oh no, this is what the film's going to be.
And then Anthony Hopkins just kind of fucks off.
So weird to have Anthony Hopkins.
It was weird because he was in another scene.
Ah,
which
yeah.
was cut from the film, obviously.
Because it doesn't make sense to have him. Sorry, is he like the
head? I assume, yes.
Is he what Alec Baldwin becomes? Is he the
Well,
secretary?
he was what John Voight sort of was, I imagine.
So John Voight,
or not John Voight. I don't know. I don't really know. They don't really explain it in the film.
No.
I assume it's more of the head or representing your team or some shit like that. That's the way I kind of always see it. It's kind of like M to me. That's the way I view it. It's like M in the James Bond films. That's the way I kind of view it.
Because I feel like they keep moving on with new characters, but never really establishing what their role is.
Well, I think that's because apparently what John Woo did, he talked to the choreographer and said, right, you do all the action scenes, we'll write around them. So,
oh no.
You see where the problem lies straight away.
This happens with another film.
Yes.
I assume this happens with a lot of them.
This does happen with a lot of action-based films.
I think it happens with Rogue Nation, that they actually didn't have a script, or there was no script, and then they had certain action set pieces
beats,
decide.
Right.
Like they knew the sequences.
That makes sense.
And they had like them well planned out. Because they're so like the action sequences are what you go see. Like that's what the best part of them is. And then everything else is like a story is written around those action scenes, and you're like, it makes so much sense because it's like the story is not the main reason that you go to watch these films, because they're not weak. Some of them are better than others, but they're just kind of bog standard, a wee bit convoluted.
Well, there are some that are pretty interesting.
Mostly 3 and 4.
Yes. Well, I think this is the first film. You didn't really get that sense of it in the first one, but you really get in this one, where this is the start of the Tom Cruise spectacle.
Yeah.
Of these films, where it's like, oh, he did this for the film. Whereas, you know, in the first one, the only kind of practical thing he did was the when he's going down to get the floppy disk, and he's going down like that, and he put loose change in his shoes.
Oh yes.
So that he wouldn't hit his head.
Yeah.
When it drops. But this film,
I assume that was a massive deal at the time, though.
I think
Tom Cruise breaking out of those roles, like
where he used to do, because the only action thing he'd done was Top Gun.
Yeah.
Really.
And
that was
really
the big main one.
Action.
No. I think this was the start of him becoming an action star. But I think the second film was the start of we're going to go see the film because this happened in it. And everyone knows this scene's going to happen in it, in the sequence. Because the whole promotion of the film is this shot. Right, because all they talk about in the interview, what happened? And he tells the story, do you know what I mean? Which, most of the time for me, I find that you could remove it from the film. And the only reason it's in there is to sell the film.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And because that's what Tom Cruise wants.
Yeah.
But also, is this the one with the eye thing?
That's what I was going to get into.
Oh, yeah.
Well, what I was going to say is, I think this mainly started off because the end of the first one looked shit. Right? Because the CG was awful. And I can tell you for now, Tom Cruise is like, we're not doing that CG bullshit again. You know, he did it in the second one for the weird parachute thing, skydive thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Which you can't tell it's a green screen. But I assume it's because he was just like, I'm not kind of trained or ready for this kind of thing yet. You know, I've only just done Eyes Wide Shut. And what I find kind of funny is the fact that how that eye stunt was done. So, Tom Cruise, I think, came up with it on the day, right, trying to stab me in the eye, right? And John Woo, of course, was like, oh yeah, we have it all CG'd out, we'll storyboard and stuff. He's like, no, we'll do it for real. Like, you know, and John Woo's like, I don't know about that. So what they did was they got like a metal rope tied on the end of the knife, the back of the knife, the hilt. Ran it up Dougray Scott's arm, down the back of his trouser leg. And they built like a concrete block into the ground.
Yeah.
And so they would drill the rope into it so that it couldn't move. So they measured it so it would go a quarter of an inch above his eyeball, like his actual, eye. And you can see how the knife's like brushing his like eyelashes.
Yeah.
It's because, and Dougie Shaw's arm shaking. It's because Tom Cruise was like, oh no, try and stab me, like. Because it'll look more real, like, if you try and stab me while you're doing it. Like, that's just mental. I'm sorry. Like, I know it's to sell the film, but Jesus Christ.
Is it just to sell a film, though? Because I feel with Tom Cruise, it might be about, it probably is about money, but I do feel it's also just him just wanting to do things to the extreme.
I think it's a thrill factor. I think
it is definitely
obviously.
Because it can't just be about money, because you wouldn't put your life on the line so many times.
Yes.
Just for money.
Well,
because money's not really worth it.
I think personally this is the only reckless one he has done.
That's the reckless one.
I think that's the reckless one he's done.
Because he wasn't trained or anything.
Because it was on the day nearly.
Yeah.
And
everything else he's been quite
something
well
could go wrong with it is the problem.
Yeah.
That's, whereas the other things he's done later on, they've been purely planned and trained. They trained for, he trained for years to get all these done. Like, whereas this one, it was kind of like, I find kind of stupid and reckless. I think even looking back, he might even think that himself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because even though he does these amazing stunts, they are perfectly planned out and purely safe.
Yeah.
There is no recklessness going on.
No, because he is trained.
Because like even in interviews where other people have almost, other actors have been, driving cars or anything, he's like, can you like, be careful, because like he knows they wouldn't have more, it could just be more reckless,
Yeah.
But the second film, it was an interesting film to watch. I don't know if it's the one I'll watch again. I think I will watch it again, but I think not for a while.
Yeah. I think I'll be a wee bit softer on it now going in,
knowing that it's...
Because I didn't mind the characters or anything in it. I quite liked him. What do you call him? The Scott guy?
Oh, Dougie Scott.
Dougie Scott.
Yeah.
I quite liked him.
Yeah.
Even though it was all a wee bit...
And that opening sequence is interesting.
Yeah, no, like there is definitely good elements in it. I just think it's a terrible film. But... I understand why now.
Yes.
So that's fine.
So the third one.
The third one was such a detox. Even though that kind of hurts me to say because I'm not an Abrams fan.
Because we were going into this thinking this was going to be probably the worst one.
Yeah, because
we both hadn't seen it.
No, I haven't.
I had only seen the start of it. And that shot everyone's seen where he's running on the bridge and the explosion goes behind him. That shot that's just in. We've all seen because it used to sell fucking TVs, oh look how good the quality is, back in 2007 and stuff, like, that's how everyone knew that shot. Or, they were selling it on the Sky Channel or something, like.
This film is the strongest villain.
Yeah.
Out of all of them.
Oh yeah, I found that straight away, hands down.
And that's just because Philip Seymour Hoffman's
but also great. The fact that, what does that say? Because he's not really a well done villain, personally. I think he's interesting, but I don't think he's amazing. I think he's the best in the series.
Yeah.
But that's not saying much.
No, he's quite... And, like, I don't know... Like, I read a thing earlier and I was like, oh, it was just plot holes and stuff. And it was just like, the only reason that like, Philip Seymour Hoffman's character, sorry, I can't get the words out today. The only reason that he could find out who Ethan Hunt was because he heard someone call his name on the plane.
Ethan, yeah.
Well, his head was dangling out of an airplane.
Yeah, I don't, yeah.
Like, you wouldn't have heard it.
No. Oh, you couldn't hear, like...
Yeah. Which is a kind of a plot hole, to be fair. It doesn't really matter, because, this is a world where... I don't know, there's all kinds of...
Chimera.
Yeah. But it's just kind of like... It is convenience for the plot more than anything, which is quite poor storytelling-wise. But,
I think
Mystery Box...
It's one of those things that works great in a script, and then you have to bring the film practicality aspect. Like
Yeah.
when you're filming that, it's like, well, this door's open. He's not gonna hear anything. But you don't think until you're making the film. Do you know what I mean?
And it's too late then by the time. Yeah, so it starts off mystery box.
Mystery box. So can we just take a wee sidetrack here?
Of course.
And talk about the J.J. Abrams mystery box.
Yeah.
We infamously hate
I hate the mystery box.
the fucking mystery box. We did.
I don't.
If you want to call it a film degree.
Yeah.
And our scriptwriting teacher, while I agree with a lot of what they said on certain things, I disagreed in a lot of what they said in certain things. Now that's just personal preference and stuff. One of those things was the mystery box. I hate the fucking mystery box with a passion, right?
So I don't disagree with the idea that having a mystery element, no matter how big or how small, is always interesting. Like it helps to kind of drive the plot a little bit when a character doesn't know something and wants to figure it out. I hate the whole idea that it's actually irrelevant what they want to learn. Yes. And they never learn about it and they end up... Because I'm like, but that's pointless. Yeah. Like, there has to be something in the box.
But also, I do think the mystery box idea is one of the laziest ways of writing. I think a lot of directors have had a lot of instances where that is the case. Where they have done, like, a mystery box type aspect of something, right? And it has worked in a lot of cases. But they don't try and do it with every fucking film they make all the fucking time. Yeah. Because let's just go through J.J. Abrams' filmography, shall we?
Yeah, I've seen Super 8, I've seen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's the only one that does actually work in.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was really bored during the film, though.
This film, I think the film does work to a certain degree. I don't think the actual mystery box aspect works, but I think you get away with it because it was his first film. Yeah. He did it with Lost. We'll say no more. What else did he do? He did Star Trek. I've talked to people. Doesn't work. Star Trek 2, same problem. Force Awakens. Need we say any more?
What is the mystery box in Force Awakens?
Huh?
What is the...
Well, it's more of the MacGuffin.
Yeah, he just loves a good MacGuffin, because that's what...
That's mainly what the mystery box is, because it's more of, well, where's Luke Skywalker?
Yeah,
that's the whole mystery box aspect. Where is he, like?
And that's the Rise of Skywalker as well. I know that's
not
Rise
of Skywalker's worse. No, well, the worst thing with Rise of Skywalker is it's Palpatine's back. Do we get an explanation? Nope. No. It's like, okay.
Dead speak.
Kill me, like.
Yeah, I think it is lazy. It is lazy. And he doesn't seem to have too much of a... He's just a producer. And I think producers lack that style, that, like, kind of auteur...
An actual filmmaker would... Yeah. Because, like, a lot of people have been comparing him to Spielberg. J.J. Abrams.
I think Spielberg has more personality.
The thing with J.J. Abrams, since his fucking first film, he's been compared to fucking Spielberg. I think, and then he did Star Trek, and they're like, oh, it's Spielberg. And he did Star Wars, like, oh, it's Spielberg. I'm like, no, he's fucking not. Right?
It's just the nostalgia.
You know, I'm not a big Spielberg fan.
Yes, I know.
Jesus Christ, Spielberg's better. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I think it does, because the other way I can think of it is, if you were, it's like, you know, with NFTs and stuff, like, it's like, people throwing money to make art. Yes. But, like, it's just capitalism.
It's
that's
people
all
that formulise art.
Exactly.
Rather than making it in a natural way. I know I'm a big believer in a story comes naturally in its own natural way. If you're trying to force a story, it will reject it. I remember, like, I think I was listening to P.T. Anderson talk about this. And he was like, because someone asked him, like, what's your writing style and stuff. And I like his films. I like the way he writes his films. And he was writing There Will Be Blood, right? And he was just talking about it. He was like, see, the problem is, if I'm writing a character like Daniel Plainview, right? I can't write him like he's a nice guy. Because if I try and write him like that, he'll jump out of the typewriter and try and strangle me because that's not who he is.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I think there's directors and there's writers and there's writer directors and there's director writers and then there's producers.
Yeah.
Where producers aren't directors.
But like producers have an important, really important
job. 100%.
I just think
they
shouldn't be the ones.
Yes, everyone has their kind of place in a way. You can be a writer and be a director, but the thing is, if you're a writer and then you're a director, you're better at writing than you are telling the story visually.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're a director and you try and write something, you write it well because it fits the format that you're doing, because film and TV and whatever, it's a visual format.
Yeah.
Where it can translate well like that. You know. So like you can have a character not speak until minute 10 and you can make it interesting somehow.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
No, I know it's a bit of a tangent, but
no, but I do think it's so important, and I think like that's the big thing even you see with Marvel films is that it's just Kevin Feige. Like, he's the director.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't matter who else's name comes on the
screen.
screen.
The director, there's two Kevin Feige films. You get a big director to have their name plastered on, and you get some weird aspect of their style trying to pour itself out of their heart onto the film.
Like Sam
but
Raimi.
it can't work because you're cutting it and ruining it. And then you get an indie director.
Yeah.
That you can completely micromanage and abuse.
Yeah.
And you'll promise them money for the first time in their career.
Yeah.
And that they can do whatever they want after.
Yeah.
But the problem is you have this beautiful soul that you've cursed with a shit film, so that their entire filmography is just tarnished by that one film. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
it's really not worth it, I think. Like, you'd even see that with Sam Raimi. Like, you do get loads of Sam Raimi stuff with
Evil
Doctor
Dead,
Strange,
and even Spider-Man. Like,
but like at the same time, like, even though Doctor Strange, it's probably the most not Kevin Feige, it still feels like it's him. Like, the whole thing's controlled, and like that's how I feel Mission Impossible. I think the only reason that like Brad Bird and John Woo and De Palma works is because they're strong enough as directors to be like, put their stamp on it.
Yeah.
And even though Tom Cruise is the one in charge, they still put their stamp on it. So there is an individual personality. They're the more memorable ones. Whereas like the other ones then are just kind of like, they all feel like the same film.
Yeah. And
the only reason Abrams gets away with it is because it's his first film, and it is significantly different to the newer ones that have.
I think it's not. I don't think it's the safest film in the entire Mission Impossible franchise, but it's just done very well. Yeah. It is a safe film compared to the first two, personally. But I think that's what it needed.
Yeah, it needed to save the franchise.
We just came from 2 where it was like, what the fuck? Like, you need to close a trilogy to some degree. Yeah. And I think JJ was the right person at the right time. Yeah. To come in and do it. Like. Yeah.
No, and they definitely, like, the franchise was saved.
Well, I think this is the second best film.
It did get a revival. Yeah. And I did like them introducing Michelle Monaghan's character and kind of changing Tom Cruise's role in the film to more mentory role. Yeah. Even though he's still really action based. Yeah. But it's kind of like, that's what Tom Cruise is for the next couple of films. It's like he's not the student anymore, essentially, or the rookie. He's just.
I think this is the strongest opening in the entire franchise.
Remind me what the opening is.
So it opens up in Tom Cruise and he's all locked up. It's told from the end of the film, and you have Philip Seymour Hoffman there.
Yeah.
And
that's right.
Initially, you're like, Jesus, what the fuck's going on? And it's amazing how, in that first couple of minutes, how tense it gets.
It's really tense.
Because you're calm at the start, and then it does get really tense. I think this is the only time where the mystery box has worked, because he's taking that scene from towards the end of the film. And he's put, he did that fucking, what's it called? Minato Red. What's it called? The Citizen Kane strike.
Yeah.
Whatever it's called, I can't remember. In medium rest or whatever it's called.
I don't speak Latin.
Well, you start the story towards the middle or end, and then the rest of the film's how we get to that point. And it does really work in this film.
Yeah,
because you are just like, he's asking questions, and Tom Cruise is answering like, he doesn't know, because it's taken from the perfect time towards the end of the film where he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah,
because right, and we as the audience almost feel like, we're like, what the fuck is going on? And so this is why that whole fucking sequence works at the start.
And he, like, Philip Seymour Hoffman is so terrifying.
Listen, I've never seen
raising a voice.
Oh, 100%.
He's just so, oh my god, so intense. Like,
I honestly think, he is one of the best actors that's ever lived, right? Full stop. And from just playing villains to normal characters, he does a fucking great job. He's just such fluidity as a fucking actor. It's so fucking sad. I always keep forgetting he's fucking dead now.
Like, I know,
but like, he is superb in this film, and he just stood out as the fucking best villain. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's some Billy Crudup's in it.
Your boy?
My boy. Lawrence Fishburne's in it.
Yes.
I think I need to refresh my memory. Does what happen is that you're meant to think it's Lawrence Fishburne is against...
Yes.
He's against Tom Cruise. I'm just
it's
using
done
their
well.
real names.
This does work. Yes,
and
it does work.
It actually was
Billy Crudup the whole time. That twist does work.
It does actually work, because I was actually caught out just because I was like, oh, okay. And I could believe Lawrence Fishburne is like a villain character, because he is like kind of that vibe with him. But yeah, no, I did like the twist of it. I did think, well, not the twist, but the reveal or whatever you want to call it. I did think it was good and well played. It worked in this film. It doesn't work in every film.
Also, I like the fact that, at least at the start of this film, he's working for,
somebody.
IMF.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He's working for the IMF. Now, so far in the franchise, the first one he's working at the start, then it's like, it's him against the IMF.
Yeah.
And in the second film, it's the only film in the franchise history throughout the whole film that he's working for the IMF. He's not going rogue against them or anything. Now,
such a
like, why is it that
gag.
of the 5 of the films, he's going against the IMF, and in the only film he's going with the IMF, it's one of the worst ones, personally. But I hate this plot point in films, because it's like Bond. It's just like, after the third film, you're like, well, no, maybe he's not a villain, because he hasn't been the other fucking, 5 or 6 times, like, maybe he is fucking right, because he's always fucking right.
Yeah.
I really hope the new two stray away from that immediately.
I think
I don't think it fucking will, but
no. It doesn't work though for these two. It doesn't work now because they're sequels. Because the other ones were technically sequels, so you could kind of get away with it.
Well, there were references to previous things, but they weren't to a massive extent, in terms of, really into the story. Do you know what I mean? Like,
logically now, it doesn't make sense for anyone to question Tom Cruise's morals or his, like, alignment or whatever, because it's like, no, he's literally saved the world.
Yes.
In the last
6 times or whatever.
But
that we've seen.
Like, he literally has saved the world from, like, nuclear fallout.
Well,
there.
I'd like...
So...
Twice. I like the little subtle things in this. I think J. James gets rid of a lot of the gadget aspects,
Yeah.
And the only thing he really uses is the face.
The face thing, yeah.
But I think I like the little nuances, like, that Tom Cruise's character, like Ethan Hunt can lip read. I like that.
Yeah, I like that.
And then it works into the actual story later on. Do you know what I mean?
And he's thinking about stuff too. I actually really liked, when he goes in the mission to get one of his like he's recruiting, like he's training the trainees. He goes in to get. I don't remember what the actress.
It's a weird
name
flashback,
but
isn't
when
it?
he goes to get her and she has the explosive in her brain, and she does die when they're in the plane. I was like, I was not expecting that.
Well, it's funny because it's Kerry Russell now. That might
Russell.
It might have a bigger impact to us now than then. 'Cause she wasn't a massive star.
Yeah, that's
whereas
true.
she's been in a lot more.
Yeah.
You know, mainly J.J. Abrams and Matt Reeves. Productions. I wonder why. And you know, she'd only been in, you know, a couple of TV shows here or there. Then I think only a couple of films, but she wasn't, you know, someone that everyone fucking knew. You know, she was in fucking Star Wars for God's sake. But yeah, no, you're kind of go, jeez, what the fuck, like. And I like the very intense, close cinematography when they're doing the action. And there is a lot of shaky cam, which I think this film very much. Well, I think all these films work for the retrospective times.
Yeah.
Where the first one feels very, you know, near mid-90s.
Yeah.
You know, the second one, so late 90s, early 2000s, so of the time, right?
Yeah.
Spy Kids level stuff. And then this one's very much 2006. Oh, we're getting into Taken. We're getting into real gritty close-up action where it is very shaky cam. It is very, you know, 9 edit cuts in the span of 2 seconds. You know, we're in that kind of era, and I think this is the sort of the pinnacle of it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, everything works for its time, definitely. But I was so shocked at that, and then I liked that. You know, when he goes to get his wife at the end, and she has to stop his heart.
Oh, the defibrillator,
and then reset it. I like all those kind of things because, like,
well, it's a callback to the scene previously,
yeah,
and then you know,
yeah, it is a callback. But also, I love when characters have to use their head about how to use. Like, obviously, it's not a defibrillator, so he has to use what's in the environment around. We actually talked about that, I think, in the last time we were doing the podcast.
Yes.
Well, I love when characters have to use what's around them. They have to, like, depend on, like, their reaction times and their wit and stuff to actually save themselves rather than just brute strength.
MacGuffin.
Yeah. So I think it's pretty strong. And then it goes into Ghost Protocol, which is the best film in the franchise.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Without a doubt.
You don't think initially. I think my biggest fucking problem with this film is the first scene.
In Brad Bird's.
Yeah. In Ghost Protocol, it should be cut because the problem with the first scene is
it does. Just
we
start,
don't know who any of these people are. We don't really care. We're like, where the fuck's Tom Cruise? And also the fact that we see it later on, anyways. Again, the exact same shots, you know, but from a different perspective. And I honestly think that scene should have been cut because it's not a strong opening. What is the strong opening is the second film.
Yeah.
Now, or the second sequence. Yeah. Now, I know this is almost a very similar thing to what I was saying to Adam, and it's a big trend here where you'll have, everyone will remember, I told him this in the last podcast, Blade, where everyone thinks, oh, do you remember that class opening sequence of, like, you know, something like, oh, the Amazing Spider-Man 2, you know, where it just, you know, it's you see the Spider-Man logo and then the black fades and then it's just him swinging down and stuff. Yeah. And then, you know, you're like, oh, wait, no, that actually isn't the first scene. You have to see fucking Peter Parker's man die. You know? Yeah. We were talking about that with the first Blade film. With the first Blade film, there was a sequence before the nightclub, which everyone thinks the nightclub is the first sequence. This film was the exact same. Everyone thinks the prison break is the first sequence because it's the most memorable opening part of the film. And I think it's kind of interesting because it just shows that the scene prior should have been cut because it doesn't have any impact whatsoever. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And you see it later anyways, and that's usually the case with a lot of those kind of sequences.
Yeah.
And we get probably one of the best. It's because it's a slow-paced opening sequence. But it's a very Brad Bird opening sequence. Yeah. And you get the best Mission Impossible opening sequence yet, in terms of the title cards. Yeah. Now, we haven't talked about the title cards yet. Now, the first one was very much a homage to the original TV show intro, right? the Mission Impossible 2 was the worst rendition ever. I think Hans Zimmer should be shot for contributing to that. Do you know what I mean? Where he throws the glasses at the screen, it explodes. Ding, 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 ding. You know, nah, fuck that. I'm sorry. I'm just not vibing with it.
It works with the rest. It does. You said Spy Kids. It does feel like Robert Rodriguez
stole from. Yeah. It's very much. Oh yeah, I watched the Mission Impossible 2. I'm gonna make my own fucking trilogy
with kids.
Yeah.
It is good. Yeah, no.
A Mission Impossible 3 is very much.
I don't remember.
It's very similar to the first one.
Okay.
So it is. But there's its own kind of new bits of flavors and stuff in there. Michael Giacchino did the soundtrack for that one.
Oh, yes, okay.
As he did this one. But I think this rendition's a lot better because Brad Bird's beautiful at blending. He does great sequences where he blends the titles into, certain aspects and stuff.
Yeah.
Ratatouille's one. But when they light, Tom Cruise light the fuse, and then it sparks up, and then you go into the title card. But you just hear the guitar riff before that, just building up, ding, 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 and then you finally let's go, and you're like, oh yeah, this is great, and it's just the build up's great for that, and I just think it's done really fucking well in this scene.
Yeah, Brad Bird's definitely the best thing that they could have done for this film.
Well, this is his first live action film as well.
He's really good. I think you said something about he just applies the storyboarding kind of animation kind of structure.
Oh yeah, where
to his editing. Yeah, 100%. So he has the film already edited.
Well, you can tell with that opening sequence or that title sequence, where it is blended perfectly seamlessly into that shot prior.
It actually makes such a difference too. Like, I know it is nice sometimes to be able to
ad-lib and go with the flow.
But I think that's definitely a problem with a lot. I mean, that's what was a problem with
Thor and a lot of Marvel stuff these
which is too much ad-libbing. And it's like, but there has to be some sort of structure. And I just think, you can be too structured, but when you're as good as Brad Bird is, you get away with just having everything there and working with it. Yeah. And I'm sure there's a wee bit more room in live action than there is in animation for. I know even in some animations, I'm sure Robin Williams in Aladdin ad-libbed, and they just actually animated those scenes to put into the film. So there is room for ad-lib in there, but your script should not just be, here's a rough idea of what we want. Well, you go ahead.
I think you can only do it when it's one actor doing all that shit. Robin Williams got away with it now because he was the only one doing it. Yeah. And that was just who he was. You can't hire Robin Williams and not get in the ad lib. But I think the problem I have with Brad Bird directing this is visually, cinematography wise, it's very bland.
Yeah, which is fair.
The colour grading is very bland and the lighting is very bland, but it's just kind of very bog standardy. Yeah. But I think
it is quite spy.
But with this one, I think he knows the audience. Yeah. It's very PG-13 and it's very, whereas the ones prior tried to be a lot more grittier and stuff. Whereas this is more like, oh no, it's for everyone. Yeah. This film can be for everyone, so that's why you get Brad Bird. But I think what he can't do colour grading and lighting and all that kind of wise, he makes up for in very dynamic cinematography. Yeah. So the action sequences aren't as shaky. They're a lot more kind of fluid, and you can see them a lot better. It's not very distracting in this film. Yeah. I think his style worked very well with this.
Yeah, and they obviously saw that and have been trying to replicate it, but
to a degree.
But so Brad Bird obviously does all the gadget stuff. Yes. That they took out.
I love that.
In the previous films. Yeah. And they don't really have they still have a wee bit of it in the newer films. Yeah. But not as much that film. They do.
I fully embraced it.
I did, yeah.
It's just even little things when Simon Pegg's trying to grab the thing and he has a false hand. Where it's so he can look like he's just holding a towel, but he just sneaks it from under, stuff like that. Yeah. And just, Oh, the whole wall sequence when they're trying to get to the server room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, like what they have. There's just so much happening. Like the copy, you know, when they have the eye scanner, and then is scanning obviously everything that's going to be in the briefcase and it's printing into the briefcase. I'm just like, I love all those little things. The magnet that Jeremy Renner is being held up on when he's trying to break in.
Yes.
Like the glove for
the glue. Blue means glue.
Blue means
red
glue.
Dead.
yeah. It's really good, and I think like having Simon Pegg have more of a hands-on role. Yeah.
Even though he's not more hands-on, but he's less guy in the chair.
Yeah.
He is still a guy in the chair, but he's still, he does make some.
Because he provides a good dynamic. Because he's kind of the one everyone.
Bringing him back was great.
Oh yeah. Because he is kind of. Well, I think Ving Rhames is the core.
Oh yeah, well he's not. He's only in this film at the end.
I know, which is
because you just have to have him in.
Yeah. Oh, because he's great. He holds the whole thing together. But I think
Ving Rhames was always the guy. If anything fucked, I was like, oh, I just gotta ring a guy. He'll sort it out for me.
Yeah. But Simon Pegg is kind of the heart, I think, of it. Like he keeps everybody's morality in check because they want to protect him, and they are reminded that they're humans at the end of the day. Or something.
And
he's comic relief,
of course. Which I think is great.
Pegg.
Yeah.
And he's funny, but he's not like.
But it's great to have the consistent.
Yeah. But he's not like. He's. I don't know what the word is, but he's not like taking the piss all the time. Like he is funny, natural. He is a natural comedy to him. He's not like it's not forced. Like, oh, we have to have a joke in here because it's all too serious. Like, not that kind of thing.
Well, I think Brad Bird having done
so
Incredibles helps with I think that's why you have a lot more gadget aspects and stuff. And even you see the weird cool gadgets in the Iron Giant, for example. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. One of the things that I really liked, like moving on, like the running up the side of the Burj Khalifa is my favourite stunt they've done.
Yeah.
Which works with the technology aspect, I think. I don't know why that part. That like when we were getting into when I knew we were going to watch these, I was like, this is the part I'm most excited for.
Yeah.
Just because the fact that he actually was on the tallest building in the world. And
I think. You know how we talked about that when we were talking about Mission Impossible 2, about the whole the selling the film. 3 didn't really have that because J.J. Abrams was very CG oriented.
Yeah, and it didn't look as good.
This film was very much. Did it need to be in the Burj Khalifa? No. But it was just because the Burj Khalifa was just opened and we're like, oh, we'll do it, the tallest building in the world. Oh, Tom will climb it, So what was very interesting is the way he practiced for that was they basically built a glass kind of wall.
Oh, and they recreated the heat and
they recreated the heat so that he'd be used to glass being that hot and just the heat of Dubai or whatever, and so that he could just practice climbing it, and they'd put like 200 hours or something into climbing it or something, like just because if you fall you're dead, right? That's the way it works. But just I think a lot of his stunts, I think this is where it was really core down to oh yeah, fuck this guy's just even the fireman walk down where he's running down the building.
So good.
It's shot really well and it's done really well. And he just when he jumps over the camera, and then he's still going.
No, I think it's so exciting, and I know obviously that he didn't die making it because you're watching.
Well, they wouldn't release the film,
but I think he'd still be like, oh, release a film.
Yeah.
I feel like he has it. He's like this is. It's like I want them to see I done the stunts.
Yeah.
Oh no, I that's like my favorite stunt, and I know he does more impressive stuff. As it goes on, it's just my favourite.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I think it's the way it is
because it's shot as well.
It's shot so well, and like
and there's tension in the story.
Yeah, like what's going on at the same time is
Mm.
really good. Like it's just, yeah, it just really works. And the fact that like the glove doesn't work, so he's like then basically free climbing.
Yes.
And it's just so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good.
Well, I think the problem with this film is mainly it has a very weak villain off the bat.
Yeah.
You don't really find that much about, and all I know is he's the guy from John Wick, the first one.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And this is the first time we've nukes as a threat in the series. It's not the last.
I think you have to finish with nukes. I don't think you should have had nukes.
Well, the problem with the whole
And
nuke thing is it's like, well, what do you do after
Yeah.
the top? You know, oh, we'll have 3. You know, like, you know, I think the actual plot's very convoluted. I think the main plot, the main story. I like the idea that all the IMF agents are on their own. I like that aspect. That's
Yeah.
why they can't make masks, because it fucks up and they don't have the tech, so they are really bare bones. And you know, I kind of like this aspect, like, but the main thing I like is the subplot with Jeremy Renner, who's introduced in this film.
And I wish he would come back.
Well, I told you that the reason he's in this is
Because he was going to take over.
yeah, and this is pre-Avengers.
Yeah.
So I'm pre-Thor, you know, which he made a cameo appearance to Hawkeye in, and you can tell they're like, oh, what you get him to do when Tom retires?
Yeah.
Don't know why they thought that. He would never retire. Well, not for now, anyways.
Jeremy Renner is kind of the perfect choice, though, I think.
Well, I don't know who else at the time.
Like he's
that's
not
consistent.
Yeah.
Because you knew I could never see him as the lead of the franchise.
No.
But he's a strong supporting actor. That's why he's perfect as kind of like a Hawkeye type character.
And I think I wish he had to got more time on screen as Hawkeye, because he does kind of help so much with that first, not really the first one, but Age of Ultron.
Oh, Age of Ultron.
He's the only thing keeping that film together.
Yeah.
Just because, like, the film's a mess.
Well, I think the problem with Hawkeye is it's that kind of supporting character thing where it's like they're good because they're supporting characters.
Yeah, and then
when they are the main character, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
You know, because the charm was that they are the supporting character.
Yeah. It doesn't work. It doesn't have with Loki though.
No, he's just great all the time. But no, I think, you know, I like Jeremy Renner's character because he's not just a character they threw in.
No,
like everyone is. Every
yeah.
character is perfectly selected in this.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
He's kind of comic relief a little bit as well. Like not too much, but Jeremy Renner has natural humor that he brings.
Yeah, but I think it's because he's replacing Ving Rhames' character's humor, which is kind of dry.
Yeah. He is.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's what kind of Ving Rhames' humor in the first 2, 3 films are. It is just like, you know, it's just kind of a bit quiet, and then he'll have a dry line, and everyone will laugh. Like, you know, it's just funny. Like,
yeah. I read, and maybe this has changed in the meantime, but like that Jeremy Renner still after Rogue Nation was still meant to do another film. Like it was in his contract.
Oh, I know that.
Lapse it like that.
I don't know. They might
bring him back for the last.
The
one.
final. It might be in the final one.
I'd love if they did. That would be great.
I know. The problem with Rogue Nation was he was clearly doing the Avengers film.
yeah.
Because he's barely in that film.
Yeah.
Wasn't mentioned in Fallout.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was doing Infinity War and Endgame.
Well, he wasn't doing Infinity War.
I don't think he's gonna be in what do you call it?
Dead Reckoning. Part 1. Is that?
I don't think. Yeah, I think he'll be in part 1. Or no, I don't think he'll be in part 1 because he was busy doing Hawkeye.
Yeah.
But I think he'll be in the new one because they're filming now at the minute, and I don't think he's at anything.
I think
that I know of.
And if he isn't, like, if things didn't change with the contract, I'm sure he has to do another one. I'm sure he'd do the last one. You'd definitely come back.
Of course. I imagine
for like the biggest franchise end, you know.
But we'll talk about the future of the franchise.
Okay. Oh yeah. Sorry. Yeah, so Leah Stowe's dead.
Yes.
Yeah. Which I just thought, but then to be fair, I'm watching these.
Well, yeah, Lisa
thinking,
Doe wasn't a big.
No,
yeah,
she
yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
big
yeah,
at the
yeah.
time.
She'd only been in a cameo role in Inglourious Bastards and numerous French films.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I'm
yes.
surprised because she's a very good looking woman.
Mm.
They like good looking women in these franchises. I was surprised to kill her off. I was like, would you not want to keep her?
Yeah, she got kicked out of a window.
Yeah, yeah. By is she called? What's she? Paul Patton? The other. I wish she was in the next film.
Yes.
She kind of.
Well,
just
I enjoyed her
off.
character.
I loved her.
Well, I think that's a lot with these teams
Yeah.
where they come in and then they fuck off.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Like I think it's just because Jeremy Renner and Simon Pegg are all, and Ving Rhames obviously are all in the next one.
Yeah.
I'm like, where does she go? You know, we're kind of at the stage where.
Well, I think the
really
thing with this
kick them out.
franchise, you have characters dip in and dip out, and dip
yeah.
in and dip out. You know.
Yeah, because Michelle Monaghan, is she in this at the end?
She is, yes.
Yeah, just so we get an update that she's alive
Yes.
and not actually dead, which was nice.
Mm.
I did actually quite like that.
Well, I do think that secondary storyline works really well.
Yeah,
Mm.
and it also it makes sense because I think having him it would have been really boring if he was still with her because every film would just be they took Ethan Hunt's wife, he has to go save her, and you would get set up so I like that, and then I know they do it in Fallout, but it kind of works in Fallout because it's been 3 movies since not till we've seen her, but since she's been
yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. Well, she wasn't in Rogue Nation.
No.
Yeah.
I don't really have much else to say about the 4th one, just that I'll definitely go back to it.
Well, what about the best part of this film? Mission accomplished. Yeah. No, I think this is probably my favourite, even though I don't like that opening sequence.
Yeah, you can cut that part out.
Yes. But the rest of the film's that good, I'll enjoy. I do think it drags a bit towards the end. You know, when she's chatting to your man and he's like, oh, here's a phone. And, you know, where they're all kind of, I think it drags on a bit there, but then it picks up again later, so it's kind of fine.
Yeah.
So Rogue Nation.
We're moving on to the Christopher McQuarrie films.
The first film he's done.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yes. Well, not the first film he's done, but the first film of the series he's done. Well, he did Jack Reacher prior.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Which is...
I've not seen personally.
I've seen it. The thing about Christopher McQuarrie is his films aren't bad. There's nothing bad about them. They're fine.
Do you want to get my quote?
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping that if I say this, you'll let me do a Harry Potter episode.
Go on.
With somebody. With Adam.
Go on. Go on. What are you going to say?
Alex said that Christopher McQuarrie is the David Yates of the Mission Impossible franchise.
Of the action genre.
Oh, sorry, of the action
genre. I
went
wider than that. Right? He very much is.
Which is an insult, let's be honest.
Well,
David Yates ruined the Harry Potter franchise.
Listen, what am I saying? I still love women. What are you talking about? I'm still sticking to my guns here. Wait till we see the next two.
I'm not suggesting that Christopher McQuarrie has ruined the franchise. I don't think he has. But David Yates is most definitely ruined the Harry Potter franchise.
Well,
but I can't go on a tangent there because
I think the way you view it is like this. View David Yates prior to Fantastic Beasts.
What was bad?
Well, he closed off the series on a high.
Yeah, but they weren't good films.
Christopher McQuarrie. Well, right, let's just talk about this straight away.
Yeah.
I hate this man. Alright? I'm sorry. I hate this man with passion just because he represents everything a director shouldn't be.
Yeah.
A complete yes man, right? And B, just a director with no sense of style whatsoever. I'm here to make a bland film. It's going to be bland.
But it's going to make money because people don't mind bland films.
100%.
But people would rather watch a bland film than watch a really I'm sure people would rather watch this film the Rogue Nation over Mission Impossible 2. Now, fair enough, Mission Impossible 2 is a bad film, but at least it feels like it was made with a wee bit of love, or not love,
there's a
but
style at least.
compassion. Like this is just made like, oh, okay, there's one wee thing, we'll throw that in, and there's another wee thing, and just make sure everything's grey.
Well, I only like one thing from this film.
Rebecca Ferguson.
Well, no, the opening logos, right? You know the opening logos. You know where they're showing off, Paramount and all that.
Yeah.
The soundtrack starts there.
And the logo.
Yeah, it builds up hype, and I'm like, oh my god, this is fucking great. This is gonna be great. Oh my god, this is gonna be great. And then it's building up hype, and it's just so good. And then the film starts, and you're like, oh, it's in a field, and you're like, oh, kill me. Like you're hyped up, and straight away the film just somehow it's all grass, but it looks grey. Like it's just so bland looking, right?
It's so dull.
And I hate this opening set piece.
What is it? Is this the...
Oh, the plane.
This is the plane one.
Yeah, it's so unnecessary.
It is unnecessary.
Like, I get you're trying to start off your film strong.
Whoa.
I fucking hate this film. Because it's kind of like...
It doesn't make any sense.
There's nothing around this airport but one plane. Simon Pegg's in a field of grass. No security anywhere. No lights. Yeah. Tom Cruise suddenly appears. A wild Tom Cruise jumps on top of the plane.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh god, right, I know you're trying to start off strong, but this is not the way to do it. No, this is obviously the stunt where he was on the side of the fucking plane. Yes, it's very impressive. I understand. Wish it was cut from the film. But,
Is this also the film where he does the water breath thing?
Yes, we'll get to that.
So this is the film they didn't have a script for.
You can tell.
They had the action pieces. And they were like, oh, I'll do this. And then they were like, so they were shooting scenes, and they didn't actually know what like the MacGuffin was or anything. Yeah. They were just like, oh, okay, we'll just, this will look cool. Yeah, we'll make a story.
I think that's the main fault of this film.
It's very noticeable looking back.
Yeah, because there's a lot of attention to detail in the action, but not in the way that I would like it personally. Yeah. Like, I think it's done well, blah, 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 but it's just very bland. There's no style, there's no flavours, there's nothing. It's like, everyone says, oh, well, it's better taking a risk. And I'm like, but at least when you're taking a risk, it could pay off. Whereas if every film didn't take risks, fuck me, they'd be shit. I wouldn't watch films if they're all bland.
But you have to have integrity as well. Like, I know there's a lot of money at stake, but at the same time, like, if everything's just about making money, then why are you doing what you're doing? Then you're not an artist, you're not a filmmaker, you are literally...
Well, the funny
just
thing
a business person.
With this film is, I had talked to people. I actually forgot this film existed. I was aware of every Mission Impossible film, but this one I always forgot. I always remember this being the forgotten one because I had never seen the trailer, and I frequently went to the cinema. Right, never seen the trailer. All I knew about the film was years later. When I was about to watch Fallout and someone told me, oh, he was on a plane in the last one. I was like, oh, was he? I didn't watch it. I just think there was no appeal there. Yeah. Personally.
I don't really
like, if you're the fifth film in the franchise, you need to come in with a big bang. Like, do you know what I mean? I also think this is, like, this film doesn't feel like, the mid part of a trilogy. I know the second one didn't. Yeah. But at this point, it just feels like this could be the last one. Yeah. We don't know if they're going to do another one because, it's not like we're on the second film. Yeah. They're going to do a third. We're on the fifth. You could just end it here. A lot of franchises did. Like, like 4 did a nice closure thing really well. But it also does great as being the first of a trilogy. Yeah. Whereas this film feels like nothing. Sean Harris. I forgot Sean Harris.
Oh yeah, he's the villain in this film.
Yeah, very poorly done, personally. Yeah. I think he's a great actor. He's just very poorly written. Yeah. His whole... Did I tell you about this? His whole reason for doing the film was, right, don't really like the vibe of the film. And character's interesting. I'll only do it if you kill me off. Okay. Right? And when they were like, almost finished shooting. You know, Christopher McQuarrie and Tom Cruise, because you know the great. Well, Chris McQuarrie is a great creative mind. I know Tom Cruise actually genuinely is, but they couldn't figure out how to kill him.
Yeah.
Story wise, and so Sean Harris has not commented on it to this day. You know why? You know what he thought about it. Cause he is in the next one. We know that.
He doesn't look the same either. Because I didn't cop on it was him until you were like, oh, yeah, Sean Harris back.
I'm used to seeing Sean Harris with a ginger beard or ginger hair.
Yeah.
That's why he looks so strange, because he's clean shaven. Yeah. I thought it was a different actor.
Oh, yeah.
Did I tell you? I thought he was a different actor, and they just put Sean Harris's voice in, and they were going to reveal his face afterwards. You know, they were going to do a mask, because he doesn't look like him. Do you know what I mean? Like, I thought it was going to be a big reveal, so when we were watching, I was like, oh, wait till the end, big twist, I know what's going to happen, like, and it just didn't happen. I was like, oh, is that what he looks like? You know, because I'd only ever seen him with a beard.
The plot is okay. I don't mind it.
I like the idea of the syndicate. Yeah. I think it's very poorly done, though. I just hate the fact that you have all these people that are like, we're evil. Just because we got a bit dicked on. It's like, well, you would have some morals, wouldn't you, though? Yeah. I do find it a bit vague.
It is, they all seem like they don't really have personalities. They're just robots. They're just like, oh no, we were all disavowed, so we're just angry about it or something. It seems very lazy and unnatural, and just so much potential to actually do something with, because it is interesting. And her, like, Rebecca Ferguson's character is interesting.
Because you don't know whether to trust her or not.
No. And she's not, you know, she does actually care about Tom Cruise. And he cares about her. So you know she's going to betray him. But she's always going to make sure
he's okay.
Getting hurt.
Yeah.
So it's this weird loyalty thing.
It's a weird Catwoman Batman thing. I fucking hate it. You see this in a lot of shit. You know, they do it with Daredevil and Elektra. I hate this trend. I think it's shit, personally. You know, I'm not a big fan of it. Yeah. I accept it for this film because it's like the only time they've fucking done it, right? And you know, it's done well to a degree. I do hate the trend in general, though. Yeah. You know,
I don't think it doesn't like. I don't think it doesn't always like. I don't think it never works. I think it does work from time to time, because you can't imagine being on two different sides, but like caring about people despite your differences. I just think it is a wee bit. Trying to pull the rug out too many times.
Well, like, you were talking about the action. I think the problem with that second set piece, the big set piece, you know, the Tom Cruise frame for the underwater sequence. Yeah. Looks atrocious. Yeah. Now, I was talking to you about this prior to you watching Mission Impossible Fallout. That after we watched Rogue Nation, where for some reason Christopher McQuarrie, they'll do it practically, but they'll make it shit with CG.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Where it looked interesting, like they did film it underwater, but all the CG added parts makes it look like it is fake.
It does look quite bad.
It doesn't look real. Like, it looks like something from 2015. Yeah. It's something that hasn't aged well. Yeah. Fallout's a very similar thing to the Halo jump.
Oh.
Where the Halo jump looks good, and then it's the thunder and lightning, and I'm like, well, that looks shit. And then it just takes it away. Straight away. Like, I actually didn't know he actually did that. I only knew this after, when I did research after watching the film for the first time in cinema or whatever. Yeah. Because I just thought it was fake, because it looked it, like, you know.
I love, like, when they were filming in the underwater sequence, I was watching a video of them talking about it, and I think it was Christopher McQuarrie, he was just on about, Tom Cruise obviously had to do, like, relaxation exercises and stuff, and they were afraid that he'd be so relaxed he'd forget what he was meant to be doing, and he wouldn't come back up for air. So they just, like, had to keep an eye on it. You would be shitting yourself, though. I do think, we actually haven't talked about Tom Cruise, really, yet. Like, the fact that he does all his own stunts and that kind of thing. We didn't really talk about it.
Oh, I think it's just such common knowledge.
I know. But like, I remember you saying about the stunt. Like, I like what Tom Cruise does.
Yes.
And I really like.
I admire it. He is like the last classic Hollywood actor.
Yeah.
You know, where he has the balls to actually go and do it himself. You know, he's very much akin to like Buster Keaton and shit like that. You know what I mean? With a lot more safety, obviously.
Yeah.
Or Charlie Chaplin to an extent.
Uh-huh.
My main problem with it is it's very risky.
Yeah.
Like
risky business.
yeah, I like, you know, I do respect him. I'm not criticizing him in that sort of.
No.
You know, I think yes, it does look better when he does it himself. You know, I think it worked great in Top Gun Maverick. I think it works very well in these films because you can tell he's actually fucking doing it. Yeah. You know, whatever other films he's done, I think Edge of Tomorrow. You know, there's a lot of sequences where he is actually doing the stunts himself.
Yeah.
I just think, you know, it's not that he's stopping someone from having a job because stunt guys are still there. They'll go through the stunt and then he'll do it himself.
Yeah.
You know, they're still getting paid at the end of the day. They still are there testing before he does it to make sure it's safe.
Yeah.
You know, and he's there and it's more of a group advisory thing.
Yeah.
It's not that I'm worried about. I'm worried about if he does get injured,
it holds back
fucks up
else,
the whole production. And I'm not just talking about like a big business. I'm talking about
from the little people.
Yeah, I'm talking about the little people. You know, the fucking grips, the camera assistant. You know, the people that are on fucking early. You know, and you know have to wake up at like 2 a.m. after having 3 hours sleep.
Yeah.
You know, to go in and start production to get there before everyone else and all the actors do it. It's those people because, right, imagine this film had a film for 8 months. Now it's delayed to a year and a half. So all the gigs you were going to have set up for those other couple of months all have to be cancelled. It's the little things like that people don't think of. Do you know what I mean? Oh yeah, 100%. Like, yeah.
And it might even be about money.
And it might not
just that you wanted to
see your family or yeah, 100%. Like,
yeah, I do. I think it's really weird too because I can imagine, like, it's kind of this mixed response or kind of responsibility thing because I imagine Tom Cruise would want those dangerous stunts in the film.
Yes.
I'd like that he is responsible in the sense that he wouldn't risk someone else's life
100%
to do it. He's like, no, I will do it.
Yes,
I'm the one going to risk my life.
Yes.
It's just there are consequences for that.
100%.
But it definitely like you're gonna go just to see Tom Cruise's stunt.
It's not. Oh yeah, 100%. Like I admire him. I 100% admire him. I think he's he's superb for what he's fucking doing. Like
he's just so determined.
I'm more complaining about your average kind of Joe, your average person talking about it and not seeing
the other side.
The other side of it, that bottom row essentially. Of
it. Because it's always the smaller people that constantly get overlooked. Anyways, they're not getting all the glory for what he gets.
Yes.
But they've had to make massive sacrifices to work on that production. And yeah, they're being paid, but like people are never paid enough.
Yeah.
Most people.
Yes. Well, once again, we're not actually dissing Tom Cruise. We think he's amazing. We're watching Days of Thunder there today.
Even though we had to turn it off.
We're going to put Cocktail on later.
Well, it's weird because I like, when I was younger, I don't know if I was wild interested in him, but I like...
Well, I'd watch a Tom Cruise film if it was on.
I'll just watch a Tom Cruise film. There's just something about him that gets me hooked.
Yeah.
And like
it's just the action man type.
He is so ahead of the game. Like he really knows what he's doing. Like you don't stay that relevant in the industry for as long as he
100%,
has.
yeah.
Like when we're doing all those, we do quizzes sometimes because we have no lives, and like it's like guess top movies by by actors in Hollywood, and it's just like their highly rated film or whatever, and like Top Gun Maverick is Tom Cruise's biggest film. Like most actors, their highest films were, if they're new on the scene, they are newer, but most of them are way back years ago. If they're older actors, sorry. Well, so I just find Tom Cruise is mad that he is still number one. Like, he is number one movie star without a doubt.
Well, I think this whole Tom Cruise thing is really shot back in the last couple of months.
Yeah,
And I think it's mainly on the back of him filming these 2 Mission Impossible films back to back during COVID.
Yeah.
But also the Top Gun Maverick thing.
Yeah.
I was talking to people. It is the biggest shocker in cinema, that film.
Maverick?
Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah.
No one talked about it. No one talked about it.
When it was coming out.
And a week after it came out,
everyone
was talking about it. Like I was talking to people, and like Top Gun Maverick was coming out like tomorrow or whatever. Let's just say, right? Yeah. I was telling people, it was like, do you want to see it? Nah, I don't know. Week later, everyone was seeing it. Yeah. Everyone was seeing it.
Because I hadn't seen the original, and we were like...
We went to see an IMAX screening of it.
Oh my god, it was incredible. Amazing. Now, I think I liked it a lot more than you did. Yeah. But I was just like, this is amazing. Yeah, like, it really was everything I wanted in an action movie. Oh, yeah. That I hadn't been getting. Because I don't really like big blockbusters for the most part. Yeah. But I loved Maverick. And I just think, I was reading about, like, Tom Cruise wouldn't do the film if they didn't find a way to put Kilmer in it. And I just think, it's just Tom Cruise cares. He does care.
100%.
And I just think somebody has to care in a franchise, and I just think there's so little of that going around now on a big scale. Yeah. Like, obviously you have it in smaller.
Well, I think it's because he has Paramount by the balls. Yeah. Like, he's the reason Paramount's fucking going, to be honest, at this stage. Transformers is fucked. Right, that's what that was one of their big juicy ones, right? Michael Bay fucked off to join Netflix. Tom Cruise is headlining Paramount at the minute. Yeah. Between Mission Impossible, between Top Gun, I know they're thinking of doing a third one now, but like Top Gun Maverick was the biggest surprise $1 billion film ever, hands down. Like, no one expected it to get that big.
Yeah, like I was talking to people that don't like films, that don't like action films, that don't like Tom Cruise. Yeah. They went to the cinema like a month after it came out just to go see it because they were like, oh, everyone's saying it's amazing.
And I think it's also the fact that he had complete control over. He was like, no, it's not going to streaming. Yeah. We're delaying it. It's not going to stream it. Paid off.
I think that's a good idea too.
And like, it's still not on streaming. Yeah. Still not on Paramount Plus. No. I think he was saying, oh no, wait till it's not making money in 10, and this is the same situation with Mission Impossible as well, I think. It's going to have a very long run, just like Maverick, because Tom Cruise's last film made $1 billion. Like,
is it going to be shot in IMAX?
What?
Dead Reckoning? Or is it shot in IMAX?
What is?
The new Mission Impossible films.
Yes, so
entirely, or
I'm not sure. I don't know. I
want to go to that.
I assume sequences.
Yeah. Because
Top Gun Maverick was shot in sequences. Yeah. Very few films are shot in IMAX in full. Yeah. Just because it's so expensive. Yeah.
It's not really worth it for like a wee conversation.
Yeah, it's mainly for the big actual. Yeah. Big scenes. Like. I noticed when we were watching, moving on, Mission Impossible Fallout. When we were watching Mission Impossible Fallout, I noticed when they were doing the IMAX, and they only did the IMAX twice.
Yeah, it was really annoying you that it kept changing.
Oh no, I was fine though, because it was only twice that they really did it. Yeah. Where it was
with the helicopter scene and then cutting back to her.
That was slightly annoying, but it was that, but also at the start of the film when they're doing the halo jump, because they did the black bars wide, and then you're like, oh, okay, that's fine. Yeah. And so I assume a lot more will be shot. Yeah. The next film.
I hope so. Yeah. Because I really want to go to that IMAX screen.
Oh, obviously the actual action shots will be shot like that. But...
Fallout.
It's just a better version of the last one.
It is. It's like they were like, okay, we'll make this a wee bit better. It's kind of the same film. Yeah. I think Henry Cavill's a really good addition. I mean, I just love Henry Cavill anyway, but he, like, when you see Henry Cavill... He has a
physicality to him. Yeah. He has a physical presence, you know what I mean? Even though he's in just a fucking shirt. He's built like...
And I know Tom Cruise is quite a short man. He's like Hollywood's dream because he's not, massive
Pause.
size.
Reload arms.
Oh yeah, I forgot. That was ad-libbed as well, wasn't it? Like,
I'm not sure. I don't actually know, but just go.
It's so iconic. Like,
even Tom Cruise is like, he's like, oh look, he's reloading his arm.
reloading the guns here. But I think like you would think that it like. No, this is just like an ego thing, but it might take away from Ethan Hunt because he's shorter. He's not quite as big, but there's a skill. I think it just shows you there's a difference between brute.
Yes, he is just as brute
skill.
physical force. Yeah, 100%.
Which just adds like just a wee bit extra to the film, which I really like.
Yeah.
And like, I think the thing that I really hated in this film was like the what did they do, like a
quadruple twist? Yes. So the first twist was obvious, where it was Henry Cavill being, your man.
Tricked.
Yeah, the assassin con. Who infiltrated the CIA.
Yeah.
And
so
the double twist
Simon
works
Pegg.
where it's actually Simon Pegg was the switch.
Uh-huh.
And then they do a triple twist where the CIA are turning on them.
Yeah.
And then they do the quadruple twist where Henry Cavill was like, no, I own these guys.
Yeah.
And then you're like, what the fuck's going on? It's too many.
And
you stopped with the Simon Pegg reveal.
The Simon Pegg
that
reveal
works
worked.
very well.
And because I was thinking whenever they done it, I was like, they're definitely going to accidentally get Simon Pegg mixed up. And then they actually did it on purpose. And I was like, oh, you know what, that worked because it actually conned me for a little minute.
Yeah.
But then I didn't have a clue what was going on for a good 10 minutes after that because I was like, I don't understand what's happening. Like, I think too many twists. And I would like to see less twists in the next two.
Well, also, I think with these two films, especially Rogue Nation, didn't really talk about it too much, but
I don't think there's too much at all.
These two films are very much trying to be the first film.
Yeah.
And you can tell.
Yeah.
Because Rogue Nation's opening titles
are the same
same as the first film,
which is like hints to what's happening in the film.
Well, you get that with every single open montage in these, but they even the art style and stuff is very similar. Like the actual score is completely similar, and I think I'm very disappointed in these recent two ones. Especially the Fallout one, because it's just like these burning. It just doesn't look nice and stylish. I just like the idea that Brad Bird really perfected it and integrated it into the scene, and I would have really have liked to have seen that a lot more.
Yeah.
And I think that's the main thing that kind of disappoints me.
Yeah.
Not strictly just with this one, but Rogue Nation and Christopher McCord. But. Yeah, I think cinematography, it's a lot better this time around. It's a lot less.
And the action sequences.
Yeah, the action sequences are great.
Choreography and stuff is pretty good.
Yeah. I think the story's a lot more interesting because there's higher stakes. Even though it's nukes, which we've had prior, it is different nukes because it's not just a world-ending stake, it's a personal stake.
Yeah.
Which we didn't have in the fourth film.
I think it has to be personal as well. Like when you're doing something like, oh, the world's going to end, there has to be that personal story in it because it's just not really that compelling otherwise. So it is good.
Well, that's why I think Fallout works. Is you're not really worried. You are worried about the nukes going off and then the world's fucked and all that shit.
Yeah.
But you're more worried about the personal stakes of them all fucking dying nearly, right?
Except for Tom Cruise, because we know Tom Cruise can
of
never
course.
Maybe in the last one they'll kill him off, and that's how they end the series. It was just like you can never revive Mission Impossible again.
No, I think it is a step up and an improvement from Rogue Nation. But I'm more worried about 7 and 8. Yeah. Because I saw the trailer for 8 or 7.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, fuck, this cunt's back. Now, we haven't talked about it.
Oh, yeah.
But I was having big parallels between your supposed villain in the first Mission Impossible, your man who's the head of the IMF or whatever at the time, or in charge or whatever, and you think he's going to be the villain, but he's not, and then he helps out and stuff. The guy who sounds like Agent Smith from The Matrix, right? I don't know what it is, but they just talk the exact same, you know. But just when you're watching the trailer and just like, oh, what does he say? It's just like,
Mr. Anderson.
I don't think he said Mr. Anderson. You're fighting to save an ideal. Like
Honestly,
he does the very whispery, no, I'm just like, oh, you're back. Okay, I see what you're doing. You're basically probably going to get a ton of these people back.
Yeah.
But I think they're going to rely on it far too much.
That's what you'd be worried about.
Well, I'm worried also the fact that they're bringing a lot, Haley Atwell's in this. A lot of other characters are back in this as well.
Yeah.
And I think there's a couple of new characters, like Tim Robbins, I think's in the film.
No way. Oh my god.
No, like I think they're putting in a lot of characters. I think this film's gonna feel like, it's more dissociating itself from 2, 3, and 4 personally. Because I don't think Jeremy Renner's in it. He might be in the last one, but you have characters from Rogue Nation in it. You have characters from Fallout in it.
Yeah.
And you're having a lot more new characters in it.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be a bit strange, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I think it's going to feel like more like, oh, this is going to feel like a two-parter that you only have to see the two-parter. You don't have to see the whole film. The whole franchise.
Yeah.
Or you just have to see Rogue Nation, Fallout, and blah blah these next 3. So you only have to see these 4 all together.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's the way we should go about these. Because I know why people would feel like that, because they're all by the same director. And henceforth they all have all the same kind of flavour and feel about them.
Yeah. See, I just don't want everybody back.
Yeah.
I think, like...
You don't want a cameo for us?
No.
John Voight come back from the dead.
Oh, God. Like, I really... Like, I don't want Than Newton. I don't want Phil... Well, obviously you're not going to get Philip Seymour Hoffman. But, like, I don't want everybody to come back.
Yeah.
I don't want Billy Crudup. I don't want Lawrence Fishburne. I don't want all of these characters to come
Billy
back.
Crudup's dead, isn't he?
Did he die in the film? I can't remember.
Yeah, he got electric shock, didn't he?
Oh, that's right, he did. But I just don't want cameos. I just want it to be just end the franchise. You can do it nicely in a way that it's like, yeah, okay, we've worked for a really long time on this. It's gonna be sad ending it, but at the same time, allow it to still be a story of its own, and stop don't steal from other stuff that came before it. Really.
Visually, it's looking a lot more interesting. It's more in the lines of Fallout, but slightly more of an improvement. I just don't know how I feel. Like the trailer, I didn't like. I think it's one of the worst trailers I've ever watched, personally. I've said that people are like, oh, what do you mean? I was like, I just wasn't a good trailer. Yeah. They're like, but they showed the action. I'm like, but they could have done it better. Like the Mission Impossible Fallout trailer was a great trailer.
Oh right.
Oh, it's such a good trailer. I think it's the best trailer. Oh, it's just like, oh yeah, like just makes you want to watch the film. Like, then you watch it. But no, I think I'm worried. But at the same time, I am going to see it in IMAX. I am going to, even if I don't like it, I'm going to see the 8th one.
Of course,
and, I think...
We'll give to Paramount,
Yeah, I think it'll be a good kind of like closer for the franchise. Or at least I hope so, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's kind of mad, though, that it is coming to an end. Like, I know it's going to be in a couple of years, but like...
2024, like
2024.
It's almost a 30-year franchise.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, that's a long time to build. You do want the last film to do
no, that's a 30-year franchise.
Yeah, because when did it come out?
94. Yeah.
Hopefully there's no more delays and it just comes out.
Yeah, no, I'll do that now. Like,
yeah, hopefully there's not another, pandemic.
That's kind of mad though, isn't it? It is literally a 30-year franchise.
Yeah. So, like, I can understand, like, wanting, but I just hope it is the whole franchise and not just 1, 5, and 6. I hope it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah. It's closure for them all. Or they at least respect them all in a way.
Yeah.
Rather than just the last 4.
And you don't have to pay homage to every single thing.
No.
There is definitely
you could do it naturally.
Yeah, just don't retcon anything that happened and... Yeah.
Don't bring Chimera back or something.
Oh, jeez. Well, I was thinking about that because I was like, the only next big thing after Nukes is, like, what's it called? Not disease warfare, but biochemical warfare. They've already done that in the second one.
Yeah.
So it's like they kind of have already done probably the biggest thing.
Well,
for
I
a war.
think the problem with this is didn't really say it with Rogue Nation, but Rogue Nation's just Spectre.
Oh God, yeah.
Just an amalgamation.
Also,
I think the problem now is they're really going into the whole syndicate thing, and I'm like, is that done?
Yeah.
And they're probably going to do, it goes deeper than this, or something, like, and it's like, they're going to have a big reveal of who's in charge, and it's going to be someone we've seen before, or
Alec
something.
Baldwin comes back.
No, I don't think that, but do you know what I mean? Like, they're going to have a weird reveal, I feel, and I'm partly worried, partly excited. I'm waiting to see, what the story is.
I'm excited for it, for
sure. I'm so happy I actually went and watched this franchise.
Yeah. It's definitely worth watching.
Yes, I do recommend it. Like, I mean, like, me and Adam were talking about this, where we now have to figure out a way of ranking these films, he was saying. And I was saying I wouldn't like to rate films from now on. I'd like to either recommend them or not recommend them.
Oh, yeah.
And even though I don't like a lot of these films, they kill time, and I would recommend them all.
But there's enjoyable parts to them all.
Oh, yeah.
And I think the main thing I could take away from it is, Tom Cruise is doing these stunts. He can still, like, I know he's not playing a wild, difficult character or anything, but he's still acting when he's doing these crazy stunts.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't break character.
Yeah.
And I know that character is probably very natural for him to play, but, like, Tom Cruise was a very serious actor on stage.
Yes.
So he has acting capabilities that, like, maybe other action stars wouldn't have had. Like, maybe Bruce Willis or somebody, but, like, yeah, no.
Well, have you heard my theory about this?
Oh, God.
Because he was a serious actor.
Yeah.
And then he broke into the action genre.
Yeah.
And I think he's only doing action now while he can. And as soon as he can't anymore, he's going back into serious roles. And he's going to be amazing. I think, I think what was really smart was someone like, I admire what Robert Downey Jr. did. Where he did all these kind of like serious acting roles and like passionate kind of roles he wanted to do. Then he did Iron Man for like 10 years.
Yeah.
Made a ton of money. Millions. Right? Near hundreds of millions, right? And now he's going back into serious acting. Yeah. Because he can. It doesn't matter if the film doesn't make money. Yeah. He doesn't need it.
He doesn't need it.
And I think this is we're seeing this now with Tom Cruise, and I think that's something Tom Cruise is going to do. Yeah. I think it is such a smart thing to do.
I just think, like, he has like, The Last Samurai is my favourite.
I agree.
Tom Cruise
performance. Yeah, it's his best performance, yes.
I love him in Rain Man.
Yes.
I'm trying to think what else I really love him in, but
Top Gun.
Oh, yeah. I love Top Gun.
Yes.
But Tom Cruise, like, in those more action sequence, like, films, he is more this character, like, the same character. But he is so good at that character.
Yeah. It's the action man, but I think you really saw Mission Impossible 3 when he's crying on cue. And it's beautiful, it's just pure, perfectly, but you feel the emotion, like, Yeah.
Because the thing I really like about him as well is, even though he's like this real, like, kind of strong, masculine character, he shows a lot of emotion in his films. Yeah. So he's not
humanized.
He's not afraid to be
cry.
Like to cry. Yeah. Which I like can't say enough. That's really important. I just think that's brilliant. Yeah. So I just like really can't wait to see him. I really hope he does do more serious stuff again, because he is so good. And I want another performance like The Last Samurai before he goes.
Oh, I'm sure we'll get it. I'm very sure we'll get it. Yeah.
I feel like we were chatting a long time.
Well, I think it's good. I mean, what do you want to do next? Cocktail with Tom Cruise? Or,
No, we really have a cruise buzz.
Well, I know next week, me and Dave will be... is it me and Dave? Yeah, it's me and Dave. Me and Dave will be doing RoboCop, which we're very excited about. We teased almost a year ago when we did the Judge Dredd episode. Cool. Thank you to Buzzsprout for hosting, as always. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at This Day Podcast. The YouTube is also back running as usual. Episodes are always uploaded there, at This Day the Podcast as well. Make sure to subscribe to that, and you can get them all on there for free. We are podcasting everywhere where you podcast. You name it, Apple Podcast, Spotify. You know, you can go on the Buzzsprout host page itself. I heard that some people listen through Echo. You know, we now have listeners in every continent, and yeah, I'll be back next week with Dave.
Yeah.
It's been Mission Possible. I've had fun. Kira's had fun. I think this is one of the best episodes we've done personally. I haven't even edited yet. And yeah, good luck.